now we can just touch on certain episodes. I'll give you a quick refresher. Episode 2 is when that decapitated Joey head, they're shooting, and Dawson practices kissing her fake head, which I thought was funny with his dad
ghost
there.
kiss, ghost, take my breath out. No, is that it? The Unchained Melody ghost. I was like, weird, ghost kiss that he, gives Joey, and Joey's
Yes. Oh, yeah. Ghost. I see. Yes, totally.
Yeah, Ghost, Demi Moore Ghost.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I love that movie. Yeah. So he does that. We're introduced to Scott Foley as quarterback Cliff, who we were saying is much older than everyone else, but he's to sort of be Dawson's, enemy. One thing that we definitely see in the first one and see more of in 2 is the very uncomfortable making out of Dawson's parents. What did you guys make of that on this rewatch? How they are so randy for each other. He even says watching her work on TV is the best foreplay. Right? And he even says in this episode I wrote, he says to his son, "Oh, just delete whatever is on the camcorder before you make your movie." I'm like, what do you guys make of that? They're crazy.
You delete it.
I know.
You guys are. This is a
so
negative. This is a terrible environment for me to grow up in. How dare you?
And I also then find it so hard to believe if this is how his parents speak to him about their sex life, that then he's like, "Why can't you stay over here, Joey?" Because you live down the hall from the 2 horniest people besides Joey in Cape Side.
Yeah.
Totally.
You should know what is at stake here.
No. Yeah, bitch, you know why.
It's amazing how horny they are, and that Gail still wants more. She wants another guy on the side. I'm like, that's a lot.
Which I also feel is a little bit of their equivocating with the moralism of it, being isn't it so great they're sex positive? But no. There's always a dark side to being too sex positive.
She's an addict.
She can't get enough. And I'm well, usually if you're fucking your husband like that, usually you're not looking for
good.
Some crappy secretive. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys think Mitch is a DILF? Do you think he's
100%?
Yeah, right?
Oh
He's
God.
Wow.
Dunk on him. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's...
No, what about Gail? Is she a MILF? Because Gail, to me, I mean, I like her, but she is, she just reads older, which I'm sure they're probably at the same age.
It's a very Karen vibe. It's a very boss bitch vibe.
Her look is just, I think, overall more dated, too. It's harder. Maybe back then she was a MILF, but today it's ooh.
She's an attractive young woman, but
they're a little not miscast, but they're just a little, which maybe is a good choice, that there's something just not totally connecting with them, that she does look elsewhere. But so in this episode, this is also when Joey tells, which I was sort of surprised rewatching. I'm like, wow, we are getting right to it. Joey tells Gail, "I know about you."
Again, these kids speak to adults in ways that are unimaginable.
I would never. You would just be weird around her for forever. You would never be I know what you did. And why? Who benefits?
Right.
From
to what end?
Yeah.
And it was so righteous and so confrontational and
I loved it. I loved it so much. I'm like, you know what, Joey? Yeah, shout it a little louder. Let's get real scared.
It is none of her business. I don't think it's cool what she's doing, but I also am bitch, this has nothing to do with you. It's not your husband.
Yeah.
It's not. Dawson isn't continually coming to you about this suspicion. You saw somebody kiss somebody.
Right. So if you guys were Joey, would you not tell Mom? Would you not tell Dawson? Would you just be I don't know what I saw? Yeah.
I was raised in the Catholic Church. You eat that up. You gobble that down into the depths of your soul. You plant that deep inside you, and you tell no one.
Wow.
I was gonna say, I'd tell my mom.
I would tell. Of course,
I'd have to. I would just go home shaken, and then just be so.
Dawson's mom is doing the dirty.
And my mom would probably say something, and I wouldn't want her to, but I would be kind of putting it in her hands. Because
I would tell my mom, and my mom would deal with it what she would.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah. That's interesting. I would. I don't know.
You would pull a Joey.
I kind
You've
of feel
always
like
been
I
a bit
would.
bolder
You
with
talked
this
to me.
I
one,
know.
Mark.
I
You were always
I know.
right. You know
For
what?
some reason, there's just something about older people where I'm like, I'm going to
don't
teach
get to
you a
say that
lesson,
shit.
okay? Which I know is bad. It's my
I'll tell
biggest
you
downfall.
to wear sunscreen.
I know,
No,
exactly.
you were kicked out of the library.
I know the library incident, and Kit has been in the car with me where a cop has pulled us over at least once, and I'm like, "What's up? What do you need? What do you want?" Right?
You know what, Mark? This is the impact of having watched Dawson's Creek at 10 years old.
Yeah, that you're like, I
Maybe.
can talk to
Learned
adults like
behavior.
this.
Maybe I really am. That BuzzFeed quiz was correct. I guess I really am Joey. She really rubbed off on me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Mrs. Leary, I know,
I
right?
know.
So that's me. So let's move on. So of course in 2 we also have like the school dance where things get very awkward because Jen's trying to hit it off with Cliff and Dawson's being weird. Let's move next to episode 3, which is actually I thought really cute rewatching it. Totally did not remember it, but this, if you guys remember, if you recall or rewatched, there's a really funny moment where so Joey has sort of met this a new guy, Anderson. Do you know this one? Yep. And he's got the boat and they go sailing and he seems like, perfect. But she lies, which is a great comedy because later she's in on the lie, of course. But like Dawson and Jen and Bessie at the restaurant at the ice house are like, what are you talking about? Because she says her name's Deborah Carr, like the actress, and she's super wealthy, right? So there's a fun little false mistaken identity thing going on, which was cute in this one. What did you think? Did you guys want to talk about this one at all? What do you think, Sarah?
There is a scene on the beach where Joey and the violin player from the sailboat have sailed to a beach for the day.
Yes.
And they are debating the JFK assassination. And it was so unexpected that I actually had to pause the TV show because I was like, I am laughing through dialogue and I want to hear every word of this. But it caught me so, we just jump cut to him being like, the second shooter and you're like, wait, what? And like, of course, Joey on a date is talking about like the darkest possible shit.
That's me. It's your girl.
And
I'm like, no, it's clear. And by the way, it's clearly the CIA, the guy in the front. He did it, but by mistake. I think it was an accident.
Oh,
it was embarrassing. That was the kill shot, I believe.
Theories. Okay.
Theories.
Okay. Let's take that on a different podcast.
Yes.
Never.
I want to hear
I'm
more.
bringing it up now. No.
I loved. It was just to me. It was all comedy.
Yes.
It was just so damn funny. Yep. I also did not realize that this was her first kiss. In my memory,
the character.
Yeah. In my memory,
wow, yeah, I guess I
was Dawson.
Yeah, I guess you're so right. This is the first time and it's a lovely kiss with this guy. Yeah, it's a real nice moment. Yeah, I didn't think about that. You're right. Yeah. Another big thing in this episode, which also I loved, it's not so much comedic, but also just kind of great placement. Great people are moving around in fun ways. And so at the end of the episode, after the little restaurant fun scene where they're like, who's Deborah? And he's like, right here. Then Dawson tries to kiss Jen. He just goes in for it when they are recording the last shot of their little movie where Jen is the final girl, the survivor of this creature. And so then he's like, wow, you look so beautiful, so vulnerable. I need to kiss you. And she's a little like, whoa. But then they hear people coming. They're like kind of on this, sort of like at a park, I guess. They're sort of at like the ruins of a public park. And so they hear people coming. They leave. Camera still is rolling. And while they're hiding, they share their kiss finally. But while they're hiding, we see, right, in the camera, Tamara, Miss Jacobs, and Pacey going at it outside.
Yeah.
Yes. But the way the camera is placed, and they talk about this in the next episode in 4, the way the camera is placed, we just sort of see over Pacey's shoulder. We just know it's a guy. We don't know who. It's all her, and she's just... The hair
driving.
Yes, just up against this column. Yes, So, wow, already in the 3rd episode, Pacey and the teacher are just, So... That was a good ending. I was like, wow, I gotta continue. Yes. So then in 4, that episode is called Discovery. Although, did you guys notice, depending on where you watched, HBO Max has the original episode titles, which I thought was funny because I guess, so like, for example, The Scare is the WB version, but I guess the real title was called Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
The titles of the episodes were supposed to be movie titles, but I guess it was a rights issue, so then they just changed it. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting because
That's cool.
episode 3 is Kiss, but really they wanted it to be called A Prelude to a Kiss, but I guess they couldn't do it. So in episode 4, Discovery, let's see, that is when Dawson and Joey see Mom and Bob at the clothing store. So the secret is getting more tense. And this is when Dawson has confirmation. Did you guys see this one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, Sarah? He sees confirmation. He takes Jen to the studio to record some ADR, Kit's life, Kit's world.
Yes.
And when they go back out into the hallway, Gail and Bob are just openly in front of all the staff, all the employees just making out, right?
Insane.
Wow. Zoom in on Dawson. Jen's like, eek, right? What'd you think of that, Sarah?
That's the zoom in that my note says a close up of Dawson's face cuts off like 50% of his head.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. It was. I thought it was such an interesting and just a really cool writing choice that Jen was who was with him when he found out, because obviously there's been, from Joey's perspective, a replacement or a shift of her role in his life, and like usually she would have been palling around with him and going to record and all that stuff. And I loved that it was Jen who was like comforting him and like the one to be there in that moment with him. I think it sets it up really nicely to continue to pit her and Joey against each other. And then of course with Joey's knowledge of the situation, that's another fold. But I was like, oh, I love that it's Jen who's there.
Yes.
Totally. Yep. And then that you're right. Not only does that pit the two girls kind of together, but then when Dawson goes to Joey, because he's not really ready to talk about what he just discovered with Jen, which is also so awkward because she's right there. And she's like, you can talk to me. And he's like, I want to talk to someone else. He goes to Joey, and that's when Joey's like, yeah, I know. And he's like pissed. He's like, you knew, right? Yeah.
I would be pissed if I found out that a friend
That's why I'm going to tell you guys. I'm going to be like, listen. Yeah. I text you, be like, okay, go outside right now. Just go look.
You have to see something, and you have to not be mad at me for telling you this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could be mad at me, but like, you're welcome, because I'd rather you hear it from someone who just saw it. But also in this episode, another discovery is we finally learn about Jen's past. Mm-hmm. Bad girl past. Sleeping with all sorts of boys and getting drugged up and drunk at like 13. Ooh, yeah. So
it's New York, baby.
New York, yeah.
Yeah, I think she says she lost her virginity at 12. Oh, sorry, that's the next episode.
Oh, okay. Well, good. That brings us to, let's go. Yeah. Let's move on to 4, because that's basically the big stuff of 4. Now 5. Guys, I had forgotten that episode 5, the hurricane one. Did you guys watch this one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the ones that I've rewatched were pilot and the second.
Okay.
And then the Friday the 13th one. And then the finale. And
then good.
Just read up the other ones, and then my memory of the scripts that I read.
I love that, the transcripts. No, Hurricane is a great episode. Wow. And I actually, for an episode I haven't, because the scare I've rewatched a few times over the years. And I think the pilot too. You know, like I popped that on, but Hurricane, I haven't seen it since it aired. Wow. Those memories came flooding back. Sarah, tell us about the Hurricane episode. What did you like about this one? What were some moments that like, wow, what'd you think of it?
Well, I mean, it's a brilliant decision to put all these people who have unresolved shit with each other locked in a house overnight.
Yep.
I thought, so Jen reveals that she lost her virginity at 12, which makes me feel truly sick to my stomach to think
Oh my God. Yeah, that's awful.
There's also Grams. We learn a lot about Grams' fairly narrow worldview.
Right.
She's big condemning Bodhi and Bessie on their out of wedlock baby. I think there's some race stuff against Bodhi as well.
Yeah.
Yep. I love Bodhi, by the way. Love Bodhi.
No,
he's
love him.
Sweetheart.
Mm-hmm.
Love Bodhi. And then the comedic other side of this coin is Pacey and Tamara and Pacey's brother are stuck in a home together.
Yes.
And Pacey's brother is trying to woo
Yes.
Nora.
with singing like musical theater. And Pacey hates that, right? Yeah.
Yes. And
Yes.
it's a very fun episode in the sense that like everybody's in the same place. We are not jumping around and having one-off scenes. These are like big pivotal.
Oh my God, it's so, and all the
movies.
fake rain, baby. Oh my God, everyone gets wet.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great. And oh my gosh, this is the episode where Gail comes clean, where Dawson now has let her know. He says sort of a corny line about the scarlet letter to her. I didn't even write it down. I just wrote like, ooh, because he hears she's on the phone with Bob in their house as like, Mitch is boarding up the house and she's like, ooh. And so Dawson says something like, just put a red letter A. And I'm like, ooh, okay, we're getting a little too far there, Dawson. But anyway, so Gail, I remembered this moment so well. The lights, I think, are about to like go off. They're about to lose power. It's already kind of dim. Like Sarah said, there's drama with Grams in the other room, with Bessie and Bodie, but in the kitchen, this is when Gail's like, Dawson, you stay. We're a family, and I'm gonna just say. And I wrote down the line because it made me so nervous. Like, and Mitch is so angry, and it's scary. She goes, for the past 2 months, for the past 62 days, I've been having sex with another man. And then the power goes out.
Oh! What are you saying?
What I am saying is, for the past 2 months, for the past 62 days, every time that I've come home late, every time that I've made an excuse to leave this house, every time that I haven't been with you, I have been with someone else, another man, having sex with another man. Now, I won't be so insulting as to offer an apology. This is, after all, on the other side of forgiveness. I just thought that you should know, Mitch. Mitch?
And I'm like, ah! And so then we come back, and Mitch is stunned, and he's kind of calm at first, but she's like, you got to talk to me. What are you thinking? And then he snaps, right, Sarah?
Yeah.
To the point where I was actually a little scared for Gail. Like, he is angry, and he says, you don't get to cry. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm getting chills. This episode is so good. The drama, right?
I filled it with kerosene this morning, and now it is gone.
Mitch, please talk to me.
I had it in my hands, and now it's disappeared. Where is it? Where'd it go? Don't you cry! You don't get to cry. So I suggest you get out of the car before I physically remove you from it.
Yeah.
It's
It's
good.
incredible.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and Dawson is hating his mom. He's kind of hating Jen for their various, like, this is when like sex is bad in this
Yes.
episode. Like,
Yes.
he's surrounded by women that are not good women. So all that's going on.
Jen
and
was
then
a fucking child.
I know. Oh my God, poor Jen.
Dawson, you asshole. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And then later, Jen comes clean about all that stuff, and he starts to give her, not be so hard on her. Obviously, she,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
What were you gonna say?
at 12 it's not, but I don't like how they like make Jen, like, yes, there are no atheists in foxholes, but foxholes aren't like the height of human, like when you're being pushed back to the wall. I just feel like they did a lot of moralizing with Jen's character that they
Right.
like did not need to do. Like, kids have sex at some kids have sex at 15. I think it's still pretty young, but there are ways in which things are not innately traumatic. And again,
Yes.
I felt that way with also the like, well, you're gonna pray now that you're scared your granddad's dying. Like, well, yeah, everybody, that's not fair or a religious thing, and this isn't respectful. And like,
That's
but
true.
it was the 90s.
Yeah.
It was the 90s.
Yeah,
And I
everyone
do
was
think-
critical.
I do feel like this a through line on the show is Dawson continues to mishandle her sexual past.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And every time that he does it, the choice is always made in the writing that he looks the fool and he looks the asshole. So I do think that they try to not make it like a lesson. Don't be like this person. But
yeah.
For sure, it's some interesting details in there.
Yes, totally. So that's I love that episode. Lots going on. And meanwhile, Doug, Pacey's brother, is with Pacey and Tamara. And like, it's so obvious that they're like they fall on the floor together and they're on top of each other. And he's just like, Pacey, get off her. Like, he's so oblivious that he doesn't know what's going on with them. Right. Yeah. So then that brings us to the 6th episode titled Baby. And this is when Bessie is giving birth, right? Which is a fun moment. Even though they're outside of Boston, they can't get to a hospital. There's no ambulance around. So they just get in a boat and go over to Dawson's house, right? Or is it, she gives birth in Dawson's house, right?
Yes. So they haven't paid their phone bill, so she needs to call an ambulance, and she says, and the truck is not working.
Right.
They say Dawson's is the nearest house. Again, would love to put eyes on a map of this.
I know. Yeah.
Dawson's is the nearest house, and we don't have a car. So what do we have to do? We got to row.
We got to row and get to that phone.
Get on that
creek. And then Grams is a nurse. She's next door. Bring her over. And so that they're dealing with all that. Dawson's got the video camera on for Bodhi. Jen is helping Grams, and they're getting kind of religious here because things aren't looking so good for Bessie and the baby. So that's all happening. But in my opinion, the more interesting thing that's happening here, this is when the secret about Pacey and Miss Jacobs comes out, right? I think that's this one.
Tells Dawson.
He tells Dawson while a guy's getting high in the bathroom stall and hears them and spreads it like wildfire. Yes.
Yeah.
So while Baby's happening, then there's a whole thing where like Doug, Pacey's brother, says, oh yeah, the superintendent knows about the rumor. There's going to be like this town hall meeting, and I thought it was so silly how like, so Miss Jacobs is there and she has to like kind of present her case and deny. And Pacey just comes in and is like, wait, I have something to say. And he's a 15-year-old and they're just like, okay, we'll let you talk. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No.
And the rumors are about him. They would be like, no, we need your parents and a cop here. Like,
I know. That was kind of silly. That was when I'm like, all right, but they believe him and there's no real punishment needed because they're kind of able to like sort of just lie and say it's not real. But at the end, that's when Tamara ends it, right? With Pacey.
Takes her exit.
Yeah, they say they do their final hug on her like porch steps at her beautiful little beach house. And
great bungalow.
She's moving to Rochester. She's gonna live with her sister, and that's actually I like how they wrapped up that conversation because even though they're not in trouble, I do like that she's scared enough to leave, and like there's still some real heavy gravity there about what they did. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do think it also just bears mentioning that up until this reveal, she and Pacey have like, we start the episode with them like full blown couple mode. They're laying in her bed and she's grading papers. And he asks her like, have you ever been in love? And she's like, oh, someone in high school, someone blah, blah, blah. And she goes, and by the way, the one who's in high school, it wasn't when I was in high school. And like, so she's saying she's in love with Pacey. They're talking about doing a weekend away.
Right.
So real couple things.
He's a child.
Kit, it is foul.
I have fucking braces at 15.
Right.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's freaky.
Like she's just
apparently
gonna go teach another day. Like she's a criminal.
I know, right? Yeah, she moves, but it's like, of course she's gonna do this elsewhere. I know, but apparently even the WB, obviously they were cool with it. It aired, but they were also apparently very nervous about this whole storyline. So it's written somewhere that like they were noticeably relieved when Tamara is. Okay, great. Now we can end that and move on. Yeah, totally. So, that's when that comes to an end. Now we have to talk about one of my all-time favorite episodes. We move into episode 7, which is Detention, a.k.a. the Breakfast Club episode. And that's where we meet crazy shit stirrer Abby Morgan, I believe is her last name, right? Monica Keena, Abby comes in. So what did you make of this episode? Kit, do you remember this one at all from back in the day?
I do remember this one. Yeah. And I remember acting this one out as well.
Oh, this is a great one to act out. Like if I had the script, I'd be like, okay, we're going to do this scene, right? A lot of truth or dare going on. Abby is
Guys,
totally...
if we could have done it together, I would have been
oh my God.
like in heaven, but I was in my room.
God. Yeah, right? Oh. What do you think of this one, Sarah, rewatching it?
Oh, I mean, it's so fun.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's a breath of fresh. Like, I really like these episodes where we have the group together for an extended
one location.
Time.
Yeah,
kind of like one day. Yeah,
model episode.
Yeah. Abby is just an all-timer.
The dialogue,
incredible dynamic to throw into the mix. Exactly the right vibe to like shake these little dorks up.
Yep. Yep.
I thought it has a crazy start to it, which is Dawson and Pacey first cracks in their friendship.
Yeah, it's rough. It's not
rough.
Nice. Yeah.
It's rough. And in particular, Dawson's smashing Pacey's face with that basketball.
The basketball. Yep.
I mean,
I remember that.
I remember that in the promos. They put that in the promo and it was like,
really?
Dawson's Creek. Like,
yeah.
whoa, yeah.
On Dawson's Creek, a day of detention brings out the truth.
Out of all the guys at Cape Side, is Dawson the one you're most attracted to?
Friendships are tested.
You're jealous of me because I got a better sex life than you.
And some lives won't be the same.
If I see these things, I can't ever take them back.
An all-new Dawson's Creek tonight on the WB's New Tuesday.
And it's all because I forget, why does the fight start? I know he calls him Oompa Loompa, which is a nickname that Dawson has expressed he hates. But I think is it because Pacey like kind of wants to show off for like the girls in the gym and wants to continue playing basketball?
There is some of that, but it's really Joey plants this seed with Dawson where she's like, Dawson, come on, get real. You think girls want romance? No, they want someone who's masculine and like tough and plays sports. And she's like, and you do none of those things. So of course Jen doesn't like you. Total bitch. Yep. And then cut to, we see Jen and Pacey talking, which we've never seen these two characters actually in a one-off before. And they're talking and Jen is like, like flirty laughing and Pacey's being Pacey, charisma out the asshole.
Yeah.
And of course, Dawson, deeply sensitive Dawson, is like, and like you can see like flames come out of his ears and like he's so pissed.
Oh my God. It's I felt sad for them. It's very serious. Like the acting in this episode is really good. Like they hate each other, which is so sad. Yeah.
It is so sad. And I think like also Pacey doesn't understand what's going on with Dawson at all. Mm-hmm. And so it feels like shocking to have his face smashed in by his best friend.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. It made me think of when Jeff Ozawa hit the volleyball in my face like senior year in high school.
No.
I was fine, but I just really milked it. I was like, I need to go home early. I'm not going to rehearsal, but I was fine. But it was more embarrassing than anything. Yeah. It just
Did it
like
on purpose to you?
I don't think it was on purpose, but I mean, I was right there.
I
and he
talked
did
to
a
him later
wind-up.
on. He was like, I really fucked up. Yeah, he thought he was looking so cool. Like,
yeah, and I was like, you don't do that when we just were going. It just,
yeah.
It's, but I think of that when I see this.
Podcast.
What'd you say? Oh God.
In the podcast
here. Get him.
I'll reach out to him. He can record a little voice memo for us. Yeah. But yeah, so Dawson ends up in detention because of that. Jen ends up in detention, I think, because she's talking about, she like talks back to her teacher about something kind of silly.
She uses a bad word.
Does she say bitch or something? Life's a bitch.
Something like that. So she winds up in detention for that.
Yeah.
And then, and Joey is in detention for a great reason. She punches the douchey jock Grant, who is so like misogynistic, and she's just like, I've had it with you. She punches him. Mm-hmm. Then it's interesting. Abby, when we meet Abby, she comes in, and Pacey's being very secretive about why he's in detention.
Yeah.
We find out later that Abby is in detention not for having an orgy in the boys' locker room with ecstasy, like she says. Which they're all like, I believe it because you're Abby. No, it's actually she has too many tardies or something. It's something and they're all like, you're such a liar. I love that reveal.
She's
and
like,
then
give me attention.
you're right. Oh yeah.
I'm begging for it.
Totally. Oh my gosh. I love that character because she is, we know an Abby. Everyone knows an Abby at their school. There's an Abby in every grade, at every school. But so that's actually her reason. And Pacey's reason for being in detention is actually a little risque. He admits that he was masturbating in the bathroom and the coach walked in on him because I guess once Dawson hit the ball in his face, he liked the attention that the girls nearby were giving him so much that he had to go rub one out in the bathroom and I guess didn't lock the door or wasn't in the stall. I think he was just out in the, I don't know, but the coach saw him and was like, what are you doing? I mean, better there than like, I don't know, elsewhere, whatever.
Just right in front of them while it's happening, dramatically while making eye contact.
Yeah. So that's his reason, which is so typical Dawson's Creek season 1. It's like we said, a lot of masturbation talk. So of course, one of them has to be in trouble for masturbating.
A child who is a victim of sex abuse who is now acting out sexually. We play it like it's this.
That's true. The timing of that. It's interesting timing now that he just broke up with his teacher,
and then
taking
a
advantage
couple
of him.
episodes later, he puts himself on the line for that crazy old
Ursula, right?
Ursula.
Is it? Yes, in the scare. Oh my God, I love her. Wow. Yeah. Yes. So, Detention is a super fun episode. I love it. A lot of good lines. And they even poke fun. Okay, Abby hints that she's in here because of ecstasy and orgy. Dawson says this feels like The Breakfast Club. And they talk about the actors in that movie. They talk about movies. And Pacey says, oh yeah, Emilio Estevez was in those duck movies. I thought that was fun.
I totally did not even clock that. That's so funny.
Cute. A little meta moment there that I was like, oh my God, yes, I love it. And I just have to say real quick on a personal note, this episode is also very important to me because, so it's Jen's idea, and also Dawson's to Abby's, they're kissing each other because it's truth or dare and things are getting very, very tense. So they're like, let's sneak out of the library and go explore and shake off the tension. And Jen wants them all to, Xerox their butts, which I'm like, okay. But then they're like, oh my God, Mrs. Tringle, we need to get back. And so they're having this fun, classic teen comedy, running back to the library, sliding on the floor. Love it, love it, love it. She's already there outside the library, glaring at them. And I have to say, I know what that feels like because on the senior trip, a few of us got back to the hotel very late, breaking the rules, and I'll never forget seeing Ms. Brown, Mr. Haar, all the teachers were at the end of the hall at the Disney All-Star Resort, glaring at us, and it was right out of this episode. So just have to say that.
But then they accepted the apology.
Luckily we just apologized, and they were like, "Just get to your rooms now," and we weren't sent home or anything.
Take too much to send you home. So
we were at the Polynesian really late, just pretending we were wealthy. Sorry. Honestly, that's it. There was no drinking. There was no food. It was just oh my God, this hammock is so cool.
Yeah, the Grand Floridian's great.
Yeah. So that's Sarah. Did you want to add anything about Detention that you liked, or you feel like?
I mean, I anything that makes Dawson squirm. So him watching Pacey and Jen kiss was also just so fun because
a lot of squirming.
Yeah, he's just squirming his way through this one.
He's losing control. Because that's the thing also, not only does he have so much to learn, in this whole season, it's all about him with his control, right? He doesn't want anyone to do anything without him directing it. Which
he's the director of life.
Right. And after a while, each of them have issues with that, which he's gotta hear.
I dare you to kiss on the lips for 10 seconds. Jen.
What?
We're waiting.
Now we go. So this is when I didn't watch as clearly. So now we go into episode 8, Boyfriend, also known as Escape from New York, when bad boy Billy comes to town from Jen's past, throws a wrench in things, gets Dawson all up in a tizzy. What do you guys think of this one? Sarah, were you able to rewatch this, or do you know about this one much?
I watched this.
What do you think about this?
I mean, he's like a very clearly caricature of what they are trying to paint New Yorkers to be for some reason. I thought it was actually a very human episode for Jen where she's like, Dawson's like, how can you not know what you want? And she's like, it's really complex. He was good to me and I liked him. And like, we didn't get to say goodbye because my parents just sent me away. And like, it's nice to see him and I care about him. And like, I think that in these early episodes, some of these characters could run close to being one-dimensional occasionally.
Yep.
Like and so it was nice to see like, well, that actually really makes sense. And like, it was nice for Jen to have a moment that wasn't just her being like, Dawson's so in love with me, but like really be like, no, I had a full life before here that I didn't get to like even mourn the leaving it. And so
it's true.
I thought that was really good. I did think that I thought he was going to murder her. They have a scene by the river. I thought he was either going to murder her or murder himself. They have a scene by the river, her and this ex-boyfriend. And she's like, you have to leave town. And he's like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. And she's like, fine, then I'm leaving. I was like, oh, is he going to kill himself? Like, I genuinely was like, does he jump in the river? It wasn't the creek, by the way. It felt like a different river.
Right. It's elsewhere in town. I agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I remember that part. Yep.
But he's a fun foil to Dawson. Again, Dawson squirming.
And also, I forget why. Do you remember, Sarah, why does Billy spend the night at Dawson's house?
Because he says he doesn't have money for a hotel. And he cannot he said it's too far of a drive to drive back that night because it took 4 hours.
Yeah.
So he needs a place to stay.
And he can't stay with Grams. She's not going to allow it. Yep.
Absolutely not. So Jen pleads with Dawson and says, can he please stay? And what's also interesting in this instance is Dawson lives in a big ass house. This guy's sleeping in Dawson's bed.
Like everyone has to sleep in bed with Dawson.
Them's the rules. If you're sleeping over at Dawson's house, you're sleeping in his bed.
Which side do you want? Yeah.
Face to face, he's taking the right side. As you look at it, he's taking the right side.
Oh, always. Yes.
Always.
Oh my gosh. But it's funny because Billy's lying on that side. And I'm like, oh. And that's when I wrote my notes. I'm like, wait, why is he there? What's going on? So he really messes with both of their heads to the point where then there's like a little mini love triangle on the beach at this like beach party where Joey's getting drunk. And it causes a major rift where yet again, Dawson kind of throws Jen's past in her face. I forget the exact line, but Billy's kind of like, she was with me. And Dawson says something like, well, she was with everyone, and it's like, and that starts Jen's full on distancing herself from Dawson because by the end on the little dock I think it's by like Dawson's house, that's when she's like, hey, and I thought this was actually a good reason to break up. She's like, listen, like I went from being with Billy, being with these different people to now moving here and being with you. Like I kind of just need to experience life on my own, which I thought was a really great, mature reason. And of course Dawson is so hurt and upset and walks away. Yeah.
He says some terrible stuff to her.
Yeah, he's pretty emotional and rude here. And she could have snapped back, but she doesn't, which, she's the bigger person. And meanwhile, in this episode, Joey's so drunk that she kisses
Joey
Dawson.
Almost get,
she almost gets
Dawson.
She kisses Dawson. But by this long-haired guy. Yeah, and Pacey comes in to help her. Yeah.
And this is actually the first, I think, we see of Pacey and Joey. Pacey's the one who convinces her to go to the beach party.
Yeah.
And the one who's like, come on, have some fun. And like,
they're starting to become not so, make fun of each other friends. And actually, like, they're kind of buddies now. Yeah, totally. So they're getting a little closer. And now Joey kisses Dawson, not in a dare, but like, she's just feeling it, even though she's, had a few.
She's like passed out.
Yeah, she's like not all there, but she just grabs the face and gives him a kiss, and he's like, whoa. And then, like I said, now he's single, which leads us into Road Trip. Episode 9 is Road Trip, a.k.a. In the Company of Men. Now, Sarah, I'm going to throw it over to you. Tell us what happened. What do you like about it? Because I only caught the very end of it, so go for it.
Okay. So, if I'm correct, this is one that takes place in Providence.
Yeah.
So Billy is still with us in Cape Side, and he says, we need to go blow off some steam. We need to go to a bar. We're going to get Dawson laid. We're going. And so they load Billy's
Providence.
I'm gonna go to big old Providence. Yeah.
Smart.
Yep. So they head on over. They have to take a boat. They put the car on the boat, whatever.
Oh, wow.
And I think Jen and Joey are at Grams's house, like doing homework or something. They're like,
oh, okay,
semi-bonding.
Becoming friends.
Because I know there's like a guy, I read that there's like a guy that starts a rumor about having sex with Joey, and Jen kind of helps her through that.
Will be back with us. We only see him once in the first season, but he does return in a later season.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
He's a football player. He basically drives Joey to school one morning because he sees her walking along the way. He then tells everyone that they've slept together. When she confronts him and says, like, why would you say that? He, in a really loud voice, is like, I've told you I'm not going to be your boyfriend. So, like, he's just like, and honestly, he's an icon. It's horrific, despicable behavior, and I am here for it.
Yeah, I love
it. God, you're so obsessed with me.
Yeah, it's so funny. So then Joey decides she's going to get revenge by pretending she's pregnant from having sex with him.
Oh, wow.
Gotcha.
Okay.
This is escalating.
In an even bigger twist, his former girlfriend, I guess somehow via Abby tells Joey, you could never be pregnant because he has erectile dysfunction. He can't get it up.
God, Abby is such a queen. Oh my God. She gives us what we need. Okay, good.
Truly what's happening back in Cape Side is just chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Wow.
I should have watched it. I just was like, I think I'm gonna just. who cares about Billy, right? I'm gonna skip this one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. So over in Providence, the boys are at a bar.
Somehow. 15-year-olds.
Yeah. In a bar.
Because they're all 38.
Just fully, not even like, I feel like at 15, you'd walk into a bar and you'd be like, I'm going to order a drink that I've heard. Like, they're just like sipping on beers. Like,
and I'm sure on this show, they'd be like, sex on the beach. All right, Dawson.
So the whole purpose is to get Dawson laid. And he connects with a woman who I believe is wearing a shirt that says something like Film Geek. And so he's like, that's the one. So ultimately, though, the woman and Dawson leave the bar together, and it seems like they're going to go home together. And then, he's been propositioning her this whole time. And then he's like, I can't do this. I'm not going to go with you. And she's like, okay. Like, what? Like, you found me at this bar.
Yeah. Well, then why did we leave the bar?
Yeah. Like, what? So
she's like, well, is your friend Billy available then or something?
And then somehow Billy ditches them. And so they have to stay overnight on a bench in Providence.
Horrible.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Who cares? They ultimately make it back to Cape Side.
Right.
Real, like, the real iconic shit. And the reason I didn't remember is I actually, to me, what happened in Cape Side was so big that it was its own episode. I thought it was the next one after this. But that's what happens with the boys. That's what's going on with the girls. The girls now, Jen and Joey, have found a common ground, which is we love embarrassing, terrible men.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
It's a great thing to bond
the good news
over.
is the number one person they have in common is a terrible man. And so hopefully we'll get to see them take him down.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. Yes. Great recap. Oh my God. Yeah. The only part I saw was the very end, just to kind of see how it ended, where Dawson comes back home as Joey's just in his room, and she says, like, I'll just wait because he has to go to sleep. And we know that means she'll wait for him whenever he's ready to finally, love her. So that brings us. Exactly.
I'll just wait, but I don't want to wait.
I'll just wait. Now we're in Double Date. Episode 10 is Double Date. This is a fun one at a carnival. Dawson, even though he's not with Jen, he can't get over her. He can't admit that he can't get over her. So he recruits this nice kind of nerdy girl who's sort of like a little bit of a Joey, Mary Beth. He asked Mary Beth out to go to this carnival because he knows Jen and Cliff, Scott Foley, are going. Yeah. So it's a very awkward but awesome set design, fun carnival stuff. Meanwhile, Joey and Pacey are paired paired up on a science project together because Pacey is failing science, right? He is not doing well at all, and Joey needs the extra credit and to look good because she really, really like needs a scholarship for college. As we know, she's, doesn't come from money. So she, is a good student. So she's paired up with Pacey, and that's when I'd say my favorite moment in this episode is, so Pacey they have to go, basically a snail dies in their science project, right? So they go to replace it. And so they go to like the water somewhere, the bogs, to get some new snails. Pacey forgets to tie the boat up. So now they both have to get wet. They're in the water going after the rowboat because it's going away. And Pacey gives her a blanket. He's like, you need to take off your wet, cold clothes unless you want hypothermia. And they're like peeking at each other, him definitely peeking at her.
Yeah.
And that's when we realize, and he realizes, he actually does like Joey. This banter is like really great, and he's looking in the rearview mirror at her body. Oh, I love it. It's so exciting, right? Hi, Maya.
Beginning of
my cat just bit my dog on the face.
Oh no!
It was shocking.
That's some Joey and Pacey behavior.
Great episode. Great episode. The only thing I think they should have done differently is obviously Dawson should have taken Abby to the carnival.
Oh my God,
that would have been the real chaotic choice.
Brilliant. Mm-hmm.
Instead, this girl that he's with, we have no emotional stake in. We don't know. Yeah,
we don't know her, and she's also so normal and so smart that there's no real friction there because right off the bat we're like, everything she's saying is accurate. She knows that he's hung up on Jen. Yeah. She likes Cliff. Like, I agree. We needed someone to make him squirm, and she doesn't. She instead just like enlightens him, which is good, but she's too normal. I hear you. Yeah.
And I mean, I love that we're starting to see Pacey tip into like, oh, Joey's cool, I feel attracted to her. I thought his conversation with Dawson was hilarious because so he approaches Dawson and says like, I need to talk to you about something. I think I have feelings for Joey. I haven't done anything about it. How do you feel? And Dawson's like, oh, okay. And then he's like, no, wait, no. And then he's like, oh, no, okay. And then
and then later.
He then later goes and finds Pacey and he's like, no. And like,
how fucking dare you?
Seriously, I mean, Dawson looks so bad in that moment. Exactly. And Pacey sort of gives him a joke, but Pacey's annoyed. He's like, and that's when he says the big, who is it? Is it Jen or Joe? Right? Yes. And meanwhile, by that time, by the fourth yes or no, Pacey's already kissed Joey, but it wasn't reciprocated. She's just not feeling it because he knows she loves Dawson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was so. He said, even if you had kissed me back, you'd be thinking about someone else, right?
And she doesn't give him an answer. She just does her
and mopes off into the house.
It's just like everything.
Okay, bye.
Everything just kind of melts, and it's like.
At one point, I don't think it was this episode, but it was at one point there was an episode where I was like, is it rhetorical? Like someone asks someone a question and they just hold on the person just emoting. I'm like, bitch, I expect an answer.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I know. Joey's like the queen of that where she doesn't give an answer or someone doesn't give an answer and then she just assumes. It's like, no, just wait for the words.